Hey class, this is Brother Jackson. We're going to have an assignment coming up where I'm going to have you guys do a report on a famous designer. Somebody who's worked in the arts, but whose work is also used for houses, for clothing, for products that we use on a day-to-day basis. So I'm going to go through the list of designers that I'm going to give you as options and talk a little bit about each one. And hopefully you find one that you're interested in. So the first one I want to talk about is a Japanese American artist named Isamu Noguchi. So Isamu Noguchi is primarily known for his sculpture. This is a sculpture that he did. He does mostly very modern abstract sculptures, but he also designed furniture. So this is an end table that he designed. Here's a coffee table that he designed. You've probably seen coffee tables that look like these places. He became very popular. He's designed lamps and other things like that. Here's our next one. This is the architect Frank Lloyd Wright. I'm sure you've seen this image before. So this is a house that he designed. It's called House Over Falling Waters, where he designed it to be right directly over a waterfall. Frank Lloyd Wright believed that architecture wasn't just about making buildings that were attractive, but it was also about designing an entire lifestyle. He would design the furniture and other aspects that went into his houses. His work is very interesting. Here's another designer. This is a car that was designed by a Japanese designer named Ken Okuyama. Ken Okuyama designs cars, teapots, tableware, and mugs. He also designs glasses. Something interesting about Ken Okuyama with his car designs, he was the first non-Italian to ever design a car for the Ferrari brand. He did a design of car for the Enzo Ferrari. Those of you who are car nerds may know what that is, and the rest of you are kind of thinking, oh, okay, who cares? Well, this is important because not only is he not Italian, but he's he's Asian, which is kind of special. But what I wanted to present Ken Okuyama's work to you for was to give you an example of how somebody may design a product that would sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars, but also things that anybody could buy. So you could actually go on the internet and search Ken Okuyama teapot, and I'll bet you most of you guys could afford to buy one, or his tableware, or one of these mugs, right? So he's got a broad range of products. Now you guys as artists and designers can keep this in mind, that as you design objects, you can make objects that are accessible for everyone, or objects that are really exclusive. And probably as a business person, it's smartest to design things in that whole range, right? You're going to have your top of the line things, you'll maybe sell a few of those here and there, and then you'll have your whole broad range of cheaper products, and that's how you're going to pay your bills as an artist and designer. You could design mugs, you could design shirts, hats, things like that. And the people who know you, who are your friends who want to support you, can afford that. So that's a good way to go, and something that you should be thinking about as artists and designers. Here's our next one. This is a designer named Buckminster Fuller. He's an American-born designer. This large dome thing is a thing that he conceptualized and designed. It's called the geodesic dome. And it probably looks familiar to you because a lot of them have been all over the place. This particular one is in Canada. You can see barely that little Canadian flag up there. You've also probably seen the geodesic dome design used in Disney World. The Epcot Center in Disney World is a geodesic dome. That was designed by Buckminster Fuller. Here he is standing next to a van that he designed. It's a very strange, modern-looking van. And also this other dome design that he created that was sort of an archetype for a home design, potentially. Buckminster Fuller's designs may have not have been the most practical, but he did design things that defined the modern look of products that were used during an era, right? So his work changed the way that we thought things should look. If you've seen the movie The Incredibles, a lot of the houses and buildings and cars and things like that are designed in a style that was originated by Buckminster Fuller. And something else that's interesting about Buckminster Fuller is that a carbon atom was named after him. It was discovered after his work was popular. But there's a carbon atom that kind of looks like a geodesic dome, and it's called the Buckminster fullerene, so that's kind of fun. This is a table set done by a designer and architect from Finland named Alvar Aalto. And in Finland, he's kind of a national hero. So he designed things like tables and chairs and couches. He also designed simple vases out of glass, but he also designed buildings and things like that. And something that's interesting about Alvar Aalto is he designed a particular shape of swimming pool that became popular throughout the world, but particularly in California during the 50s and 60s. And then later, during a drought, those pools were emptied, and skateboarders discovered that they were a really fun shape to skateboard in. So this is an example of ways that designers can create products that maybe weren't designed for one thing, but when people start to use them, they find new uses and applications for them. So as a designer, you can actually influence culture in a broad variety of important ways. All right, this is a chair and a teapot that were both designed by the German designer named Walter Gropius. Walter Gropius was an architect and furniture designer, but he was most well known for opening a design and art school called Bauhaus in Germany. It was opened between 1919 and 1933, but the way that they taught art and design has influenced the way that we teach it even till today. So Walter Gropius had a really big impact on what we expect of our products, how they look, how they work, and he's also had a big impact on art education. So he's an important figure in design. Here's a chair, some other chairs and table. These were done by a married couple named Charles and Ray Eames. They're a husband and wife couple, and as you're looking at these, they probably look quite a bit like stuff maybe that you could buy at IKEA or other places. Of course, IKEA didn't exist when Charles and Ray Eames were working, but they designed furniture and other products that really defines the look of an entire generation and even affects our aesthetic sensibility today. So their work is very influential. This is the work of an architect and interior designer named Le Corbusier. Here's a building that he did. His work is very elegant, pared down, functional, but also his buildings often kind of look like a large functional sculpture. So his art and his architecture and his products have a very sculptural quality to them. Here's another artist and designer named Mies van der Rohe. Really simple, pared down design. He's also an architect, and his work really defined the minimal, modern aesthetics of design that was popular during the 60s and 70s and even is very influential today. All right, here's our next one. Some of you guys may be interested in this guy. So these shoes, you guys may recognize, are Air Jordan shoes. They were designed by a clothing designer, shoe designer I should say, named Tinker Hatfield. So Tinker Hatfield was a really influential designer in sneakers. Really, there was a big change in the way that we looked at shoes during the 90s, where they changed from being just something that you used to play sports in to a fashion statement and something that you were willing to pay over $100 for. It was actually in the 90s when the first Air Jordans came out that cost $100. People were shocked. They thought, why would you ever pay so much money for a pair of shoes? And now these are collector's items. They're worth even thousands of dollars for some of these older models. And really, Tinker Hatfield was instrumental in changing the way that we look at basketball shoes. All right, this is a piece that was done by a German designer named Olafur Eliasson. This is a lamp that he designed, and you can see by the reflections or the light that's cast on the walls around that it's not just a lamp, but it's actually something that affects the appearance of an entire space. This is a large architectural space that he designed, so this is actually, you're seeing the shape of the walls and this kind of reflective thing from below, and this is what that same area looks like above. So this is the lobby of a large bank building in Germany, and here's a home or a building that he designed. It's an apartment building that's right on the River Rhine. It's really beautiful design. You guys are probably familiar with this. This is the Walt Disney Concert Hall that was designed by Frank Gehry, who's a very eccentric and influential architect who's working today. His architecture is extremely postmodern and whimsical and interesting, so he might be a good one for you to look at. Alright, here's another one. So this is something that was designed by Kenichiro Ashida. He's one of the main designers for Nintendo, and some of you guys may be interested in that. You can't get around the influence and importance of video game design around the world. It's changed the way that we live. I'm personally not a gamer, but for many of you, this is a pretty big, impactful product. And Nintendo's video game consoles in particular are very well designed, really smartly designed. You may have your opinions about them being not the best consoles, but there's no doubt about the impact that they've made in culture. Alright, here's a chair, and this is actually a bookshelf or a display case. Then it was done by an Australian artist named Mark Newsom. Mark Newsom also designs like interior spaces for aircrafts. He designs products and things like that. So his work has a very sculptural and interesting look that I like a lot, and it's just interesting to see somebody who's designing things that are not just meant to be functional but also meant to feel like pieces of usable art. And these are some things that were designed by a designer named Neri Oxman. She's an American-Israeli designer who she teaches at the MIT Media Lab. She does really experimental work with renewable fibers, things that can be grown. So she works with things like spider silk or casein protein. She works with different types of funguses that can be used into sustainable fibers. And her work has a very organic, strange feel to it. But she's really interested in the connection between science and design. And she has some very interesting work. So I've tried to choose a variety of types of work and types of designers and artists. Hopefully you can find somebody whose work you're interested in. Please choose one and do some research, and I will send you out the email with the rubric for the assignment. All right, we'll see you.